and we'll prepare it, ready for your arrival.
Whether you need prescription or over-the-counter medications, blood glucose testing, or advice on vitamins and supplements, we're here early in the morning to late at night. Both of our locations at our Camana Bay and airport stores are open 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday to Saturday.
For more info, visit fosters.ky/pharmacy. Foster's Pharmacy. Better health because we care.
Drinking water is vital to our health. At Cayman Water, we use reverse osmosis desalination to ensure safe drinking water. A semi-permeable membrane allows fresh water to pass through, blocking out contaminants. Then, we finish with a post-treatment process and conduct frequent extensive testing to ensure that you get healthy drinking water with an average pH of 7. Not only is water out of your tap safe to drink, it's approximately 400 times less expensive than bottled water. Help to reduce plastics and save our planet. Cayman Water cares. Learn more at caymanwater.com.
Insurance matters. It gives you the confidence to live life as you should, knowing you're protected. As a leading local insurer for over 25 years, Island Heritage has a consistent track record of providing best-in-class customer service with quick and efficient claims processing. This means insurance you can rely on when you need it most. The Island Heritage way. Visit us online at islandheritageinsurance.com today to learn more about our home, contents, motor, marine, and commercial insurance products. Go on and live your life. With Island Heritage, you can.
K-Man, Units is here, the island's newest move-in and storage solution. Our robot delivery system allows you to put your unit almost anywhere while providing level loading, uploading, and minimizing shifting. What's even better, no time constraints. Pack at your own pace for moving or store as long as you need. Short-term or long-term, at the home or on the job site. Units, fast, safe, and secure. Check us out at units.ky and be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Have your engine driving like never before with Pure 93, the highest pure octane fuel in Cayman, and available exclusively at Rubis service stations. Pure 93 protects against engine knock, restores lost power and acceleration, cleans fuel injectors, intake valves, removes engine deposits, improves your fuel economy, and it meets international specification requirements for your car. Fill up with Pure 93 now and keep your engine running like new. Fuel the difference with Pure 93, available exclusively at Rubis.
We need to talk. Okay. We've noticed you've been going to KFC a lot more than usual lately. And
that's fine. We know you love it.
we just don't understand how you could afford it.
The KFC What a Deal menu starting at just $3. Gives you lots of great choices and value. Available at KFC Baytown Plaza, Shedden Road, and in the Strand. The KFC What a Deal value meals. The deal everyone should know about. Come to KFC and enjoy a variety of tasty choices at surprising prices. KFC, so good.
For business, they say location, location, location. But really, there's no better location than right here, right now on your mobile phone or laptop. Buy and sell your pre-owned gear where the island is searching online. Buy and sell on ektrade.com. That's ektrade.com.
The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And hello, K-Man. I'm your host, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon, and welcome to Straight Talk right here on Bobo FM 103.1.
There you go. The phone lines are open at 745-2626 as we broadcast live here on your radio dial at 103.1, but also simulcasting live on YouTube and also on Instagram vis-a-vis the Rec Room 345. And hopefully, fingers crossed, by the end of the week, maybe at the latest Monday, we should be broadcasting on Facebook, having been working on a workaround to get past the 60-day requirement Meta has now placed on new accounts like ours to be obviously established for 60 days or greater before they will allow streaming content. But again, we hear your requests from the listening audience. A lot of you folks have been writing to us saying how much they'd like to see us on Facebook, and we agree. We'd like to be on Facebook as well.
1,000%. And I saw you smiling, Austin. I saw you smiling when I went all that Straight Talk stuff here. I can't give you all the fun, you know. I have to I have to take it away from you sometimes.
I think you got a guilty conscience over there. I don't know why. I think if we look back, as I did last night, by the way, I want to say I thought we had a really great discussion.
Great show
last night. Certainly, again, I want to say great big thank you to Dr. Mark Lockhart. What a fantastic program. What a breath of fresh air. What a lot of information he shared with us.
Awesome
and
human.
And our listening audience. Yeah, indeed. And, you know, I'm glad he reminded us. I mean, certainly I remember our collaboration back in the old days, but I didn't quite realize that when we first went on the air, he might have been our second or third guest, you know,
just
from
about,
the start.
Just about the same of it as it is now.
Exactly.
Mirror.
A complete mirror image, and it wasn't planned. It just kind of worked out that way. That's why we always say to ourselves, it's got to be more than just coincidence.
Absolutely.
Happy Ash Wednesday, Cayman. Has been a public holiday. Hopefully, many of you within the sound of our voice had a chance to check out the agricultural show. Mr. Farmer in the house, I have to ask you if you found your way off the beaten path and headed out to the Grand Pavilion, the agricultural pavilion.
I was stuck in the traffic this morning.
You were? Well.
And of course, let's see, 4:35. I'm sure we're talking to a couple of people right now
that are still in it.
Still stuck in the traffic.
Yes.
So just sit back, enjoy it. You got to listen to Austin and I. I mean, it can't be that bad.
It can't be that
it's
bad.
Pretty good, actually, I think.
Can't be that bad.
But yeah, I was stuck in the traffic this morning, sometime between 10ish and 11. Right?
Really?
And I'm just sitting and saying,
how was it? I mean, like standstill, stuck, going nowhere fast?
Yeah, it was kind of one of those.
Yeah.
It was one of those moments, and I'm saying to myself, you gotta do something about this.
You know?
I'm thinking, more shuttle services, although I was told.
Yeah.
I was told that they had a couple of shuttles.
Yes.
But I don't know. I didn't see anything.
Didn't see anything?
No.
Well, I thought about it today. Yes, they did have shuttle services. I believe they were definitely running from Prospect straight up up the eastern coast along to Bodden Town. Yesterday, I said I wasn't sure whether or not that included Tropical Gardens. It may not. I don't know. But they were running shuttle services. They were offering park and ride. But they also, I only saw this today, a notice popped up saying that there would be no parking offered at the agricultural pavilion. And I wonder how many of those folks who were stuck in traffic may have learned that after being stuck in traffic for 2 hours, getting to the agricultural pavilion and being told, sorry, no parking, you're going to have to find someplace else to go.
I suspect quite a few.
Yeah, so do I.
Because I can tell you, if I was on my way to agriculture, I would not have known that, right?
Yeah.
And I heard there was over 10,000 people there.
Wow.
Now, sometimes you get these, these fisherman tales, right? You don't know how.
True.
The picture weighed 20 pounds. but all I can tell you is that's what I heard.
That's what I heard. You're selling to me as cheaply as you bought it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's a good opportunity for our listening audience to do a little listener feedback. If you attended the Ag Show on this Ash Wednesday, give us a call.
And if you're in the sound of our voice, give us a call and tell us no.
26 and tell us exactly what your experience was like today. How long did you sit in traffic? What the parking situation was when you got to the agricultural pavilion? And, of course, ultimately, what did you think of this year's show? Either way you look at it, Ash Wednesday and the agricultural show go hand in hand in this country. It is always very well attended, though to your point, I think usually it is more well attended in the early morning, particularly those persons shopping for plants and, other agricultural goodies, so to speak. They have a best chance of snatching them up in the early morning.
Early bird catches the early worm.
Early bird catches the early worm, that's right. So I suspect that was the case once again today, but I didn't go. And I enjoyed that. I smiled to myself this morning as I was enjoying my coffee, thinking, if I don't have to go to the Ag Show, I won't go to the Ag Show.
I was actually smiling on my way to East End as well, because I said, somehow the conversation came up. It was four of us in the car. I can't tell you anything more than that, Austin.
That's it?
You'd
have to kill me.
I'll have to kill you.
I understand.
So, but we were in the car, and then, the bottom line of it, okay, I have to get back on that one. But either way, we're in the car, and I'm smiling. I'm saying, worst case, if this traffic lasts forever, I'll just call Austin on the show. Hey, Austin, it's me at the agriculture show.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Ellio live on remote from the Ag Show, going into as far away as Friday.
Yeah.
Still there.
Yeah, but either way, honestly, on the joyride, it was, I had my wife in the car. I had it was two of my workers, and we were heading there. We were going to get something done, but between the traffic, the sun, just the wait. By the time we got up there, we said, you know what? Water the plants, feed the animals. We're going back. We're going back home, get some sleep.
There you go. Well, again, the phone lines are open, 745-2626. If you went, give us a call. Tell us what you thought. Also, you can share your comments with us via WhatsApp by dialing 928-2562. You can either send us a WhatsApp voice note, and we'll play your comments live on the air, or just send us a traditional WhatsApp message, and we will read them. With that in mind, we have one WhatsApp message just came through. It says, "Hi, guys. I went to the Ag Show today.
Mm-hmm.
Parking was plentiful. I had no issues with parking or entering the venue. It took like 5 minutes. When we hit Countryside, it took us approximately 15 minutes to get to the entrance." So here's one writer and attendee today saying that, giving us the impression anyway, that it took no time at all.
Right.
To get from either his
conflicting
home
messages
to the Agricola Drive and then on to the Agricultural Pavilion for today's Ash Wednesday show. Maybe we were wrong. Maybe the traffic was just on the roads, but actually getting there was a breeze once you passed, I guess, a certain point.
Well, you had chatted, because it is holiday now, I'm kind of messing up the days.
Today's
Tuesday.
Yes, yesterday.
Yeah, I think you mentioned at that point, either it was Tuesday or Monday, and you talked about the new piece on the east-west arterial that was been added.
Yes, yesterday.
And so I found that it was, again, people coming in from those sections, way on Hearst Road or on that east-west arterial that was kind of causing a lot of delay.
Right.
And, so once I passed the Agricola heading east, it was pretty good.
Right.
And even when I got around Savannah Meadows, there was the agriculture lane, and it was moving pretty good.
Moving pretty good?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I don't know. From my perspective, thank you for holding up the traffic intersections.
Well, kudos to I assume you had the RCIPS were there on duty today?
I can't say anything about those guys. They were around.
All right. Well, kudos to them for, again,
doing a good job.
Directing traffic and arguably doing a fantastic job. So far, we've got at least 2 bits of feedback.
I think I saw the regiment out there, too.
Yeah. So it's all very good. It's all very good.
Sending out links, Austin, in case the person's tuning into YouTube or Instagram is wondering, what is Ellio doing?
What is he doing?
He's got his head down.
That's right. No, I just received another message, but I don't know what this is. You might have to check that one out. Check that one out on the
pictures.
Yeah, the one that was just sent since you got your head in the phone.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
It gives me a good opportunity to share with the listening audience. Obviously, yesterday we talked about our guest with Dr. Mark Lockhart, taking a look at the challenging issue of youth mental health issues and the increase here in the Cayman Islands. Tomorrow, we encourage our listening audience to join us, where we will host our special guest, Mr. Mario Ebanks, as we have been talking about for the better part of a week or otherwise. We will be tackling the Immigration Transition Act 2022 white paper that's been put out for public consultation. Mr. Ebanks is an HR specialist. He's got a master's and certainly in the area of workplace solutions and strategies, and he will be our special guest to help us take a deep dive into that white paper, perhaps examining some of the good, the bad, and as we said on Instagram, maybe even the pointless as well. But we want to encourage the listening audience to tune into that conversation. I think the white paper represents the first step towards immigration reform under this administration. I suppose, better late than never. Left it until the 11th hour, quite literally. And
we'll deal with it right after.
Deal with it. It'll be dealt with under the next administration. So I don't suppose they can include it as a check mark, as something they've accomplished. But nonetheless, hopefully that will be topics that will be discussed during the debates. But we will first tackle it tomorrow, starting at 4:30, right here on Straight Talk on Bobo FM. So we encourage folks to tune in and be a part of that conversation tomorrow as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Austin.
Yes.
What I wanted to say is,
yes, my turn to go check out what's going on the
WhatsApp. One of my favorite topics.
One of your favorites? Oh yes, I know what's coming.
When you think back, right, persons aren't intricately involved in cruise tourism. It's understandable. You've got work to do. But when you think back about passing by the harbor, getting little glimpses of what's going on out there, how many cruise ships did you have in mind? How many comes to your mind that you remember seeing out there in the port?
Like on a general day or in the environment of cruise berthing?
Kind of your average day out there in the harbor,
Between 2 and 4. I think 4 has been the most I've ever seen on any day.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. I'll take 2 to 4 per day. And I can tell you that I've seen more out there as well. I've seen at least 6 sometimes. But bottom line is, let's go with Austin's number, 2 to 4. So I just wanted to mention this little bit of a fact that shows, amongst other things, how the numbers are significantly dwindling. Now, let me see if I can just find this thing here. I'm doing all kinds of YouTubing today. So, for example, in June, in the month of June, you get, in the first week, you're going to get 4 ships. So we're not talking about 4 ships for the day. I mean, I'm smiling, but this is not funny, right? I mean, just imagine your business if it was like,
for the whole month of June.
If you were getting 4 ships a day, as per your, recollection.
Yes.
And now it's 4 ships for the week. The second
for the whole week?
For the entire week. This is not per day. This is a week.
Well, the cruise lines did say they were going to stop coming to the Cayman Islands. And,
so all the people who are thinking, oh, look, this isn't going to happen, this is nonsense. They'll never stop coming.
They'll never stop coming to the Cayman Islands. We're the Cayman Islands, for goodness sakes. They want to come here.
All right. Calendar says for June 2025, first week you get 4 ships. One is supposedly on the 3rd, the next one on the 4th, the following on the 5th, and then on the 6th. All right? Now, on the second week, you get 1 ship.
Wow. 1 ship for the whole week.
I'm laughing, but this is not funny.
No.
So, this is I'm very serious problem laughing. You know one of those laughing, somebody pulls a gun on you, but you laugh?
Yes.
Kind of one of those.
Yeah.
So, this is the 3rd week.
You're scared silly.
Yeah, it's like, I'm giggling here, but this is not funny.
No, it's
so
not.
3 ships in the third week, and 3 ships in the 4th week.
Wow.
And I can continue on. The picture doesn't look much different for July.
No.
Doesn't look much different for August, and I can continue on. But you get the picture, right?
No, absolutely.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
I remember, and I probably remember better than you because I used to live nearby. I used to even swim out to the cruise ships. The crazy things we do. So, but I remember 5, 6 ships out there. But I'll take your number.
Yeah.
I'll take your number of 2 to 4. And this was per day that your recollection, and you're absolutely correct. 2 to 4 ships would be perfectly normal for the day. This is 1 ship for the week, 3 ships for the week.
Wow.
So again, let me just tell you that this cruise tourism issue is a serious one, and that the numbers are significantly dwindling.
Yeah.
Continues.
Yeah.
And behind those shortcomings on the ships, real lives are being impacted as a result of it.
Yeah.
We need cruise tourism. We need to support our Caymanians in cause. And so we need to vote yes for cruise tourism on the 3rd of April, 2025. Vote yes for cruise tourism.
No, absolutely. To your point, the cruise lines have been threatening for many, many a year, warning that without cruise berthing, they simply, will have to bypass the Cayman Islands. We keep talking, in a circle about offering boutique-style cruises as an offering. Again, we need only look at the current ships that bring in anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000 passengers. They are out there. I think of the Holland America, and MSC cruise lines in particular. One of those were in town, so to speak, last week. Something interesting happened last week as well. There were 2 ships in spots, and there were 2 ships downtown. Now, normally we go to spots when there's inclement weather downtown, but this day,
because you can't dock out there.
But this day it was beautiful all along the south side and on the leeward side, which is of course the Georgetown area, all the way up to 7 Mile Beach. It was flat, but we still had ships split between Spots Beach and Georgetown, and I kind of wondered, was that a traffic congestion issue? Because of course we had the road closures in downtown Georgetown, and really tourists couldn't go anywhere. At least the lodge is shot because most of those businesses have closed down for the same reason I think you're alluding to, lack of business, which of course is expected to continue, as Ellio just stated, into June, July, and even further into the future. But when we look at the ships that are bringing in the smaller number, some would say the more affluent tourists from Europe and other parts of the world, they're not spending. They're not spending the kind of money that otherwise we would say, well, this is what we should be catering towards. It's the Disney cruise lines, the celebrity cruise lines, which, largely sail out of North America. They have a younger crowd. Now, again, these aren't my words. These are words coming from persons who operate specifically water sports businesses, both there on Public Beach as well as those persons who, charter boats to Stingray City and the North Sound trips and whatnot, even in deep sea fishing as an example. Disney in celebrity, because of the younger demographic, I don't want to, sort of smooth over all of them, but they're younger, so they're partying, they're drinking, they're having a good time for the week, and when they come on shore, they're looking for those activities to continue, and they're spending on average about $100 a day per person, but that is where the spend is coming from. More to the point, we keep seeing whether just follow the cruise headlines and see what they're doing. They're building bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger ships, floating cities on the water, and there are no signs of slowing down. So, until we, grapple with that notion, cruise lines are going to continue to stop coming here. Now, what would be, and I'm not suggesting that we go down this route, but it is an alternative if we decide that you don't want cruise berthing, but you want to perhaps approach this so-called boutique cruise style experience, instead of thinking in terms of boutique cruise, it's been proposed before, but mega yachts. We have the largest shipping registry in the world. There are more ships registered under the Cayman flag and the Red Ensign flag than any other country, region in the world. Cayman caters to ships that are, I think they're 100 meters and above. So the bigger you get, you're probably flying a Cayman flag. I spent some time. Shortly after being elected, I attended the Monaco Boat Show together with the Premier. Matter of fact, I attended on behalf of the Premier, who had to go to Brussels to deal with issues related to the FATF and getting us off the blacklist and focusing on financial services.
I think I remember that one.
But Monaco is 1/8 of a mile long. And put that in perspective, it runs from what would be the old Paradise Bar and Grill to Dixie Cemetery. That is Monaco.
Interesting.
But the parking is all on the outskirts of the city. So the actual city proper itself is pedestrian only. You've got parking garages all around, so that when you travel into the city itself, you have to park your car and then walk into whether it be the ports or the restaurants or wherever you go. But I viewed it as a city 1/8 of a mile lined with gold, because here you have mega ships entering the harbor. They're purchasing gas, or fuel rather. They are purchasing food. They are purchasing liquor in copious amounts, because if you think cruise passengers party, you haven't seen partying until you see what some of the folks on these mega yachts do. And that is opportunities for, we keep talking about trying to redevelop and recreate Georgetown. We see a lot of businesses moving out of Georgetown. We take on that sort of, chateau style approach where you've got shops on the ground floor and living accommodations on the floors above, repurposing some of the financial services buildings that have been traditional for financial services. That, in my mind, would be probably the more appropriate vision for Cayman as an alternative to cruise berthing than this boutique cruise idea would be. And again, we simply use the living, breathing example that we have smaller ships coming to Cayman right now, and they're not spending the kind of money that the naysayers, those perhaps on the other side of this argument, are suggesting this is what Cayman needs. There is no proof of it, that this happens naturally. And aside from, the cruise lines themselves continuing to own and offer luxury charters, again, if the cruise lines are going to do it, then the cruise lines are probably going to find a way to keep those profits, mostly on their side than they are on the destination side. So these are things that we have to consider. But consider or not, we cannot, I guess, live in a dream world And I think that's the point that you bring to the table here. For years, we've been talking about the fact that cruise lines are going to sidestep the Cayman Islands. When the first mega-class ship was built and put in water, 5,000 passengers, it sat 12 miles offshore of the Cayman Islands because it wouldn't come in. It wouldn't tender. I remember like it was a yesterday conversation. Now we see more and more of those happening on a day-to-day basis. And you're telling us right now in June, we have 4 ships for an entire week, not 4 ships a day.
3 ships for the week.
Yeah, it's
and there's one there with 1 ship for the week.
Yeah,
I mean, how can anyone survive on that? I mean, that is, and again on the yacht thing. I remember when I was in the government, we looked at again supplementary with respect to the yachts. There was a section that they talked about utilizing to bring in the yachts, but bear in mind that on your cruise ships, the government makes revenues even if there's those ships just park in the harbor.
Yeah.
So technically, those ships can just come in, sit in the harbor, and stare at the Cayman Islands, and you're still making money per head. The government, in terms of environmental fees, all these different things. This is not going to just impact, a couple of persons driving buses and giving excursions, and this is going to impact core government as well. And government is you and I, the people of this country. I want people to understand.
Yeah.
Again, let me just highlight. When there's someone telling you, oh, we got to stop this nonsense, and who cares if you lose $300 million? We got to get rid of these people. I want you to understand, when government loses 10, 20, 30, or $300 million, well, that government is you, the taxpayer.
Absolutely.
So in other words, in this particular case, the cruise ships are coming in and saving you, the taxpayer, from having to spend the $300 million. But when you lose it, well, then you're going to have to pay it.
Yeah.
So again, if you don't like fees, if you don't like the tax that goes on your gas, which makes you pay the highest gas prices perhaps in the world, well, you might want to understand that, somebody else paying it helps you.
Sure.
So if you don't want to see increases there, work permit fees, and the list goes on, we need to continue to diversify the economy. Cruise tourism plays a role in it. And I will just keep saying it until 3rd of April 2025, call it whatever it is. My personal position is we need cruise tourism. It is absolutely important. We need other industries. At the Chamber of Commerce debate, I think there was a GCCP thing that we were doing. Basically, it was digital nomads. We did it during COVID.
Yes.
You guys would have been doing it. And again, kudos to you, Austin Harris. You laser butt people that did absolutely nothing in there.
I tell you, if you listen to some folks, you swear we did nothing at all.
So you all implemented this.
You were alive today, though.
Right. You implemented this program. And again, this would have brought, I think the numbers that I saw was either like 104 or 140,000 persons that came in 1 year alone, or total amount, can't remember. But basically, again, bring in large amounts of money to the country.
Yeah.
Now, that actually expired in November of 2024. Why it's allowed to expire, I have no idea.
Right.
But it's just to show you. And COVID points out a lot of those things. And I think you also were touching on something similar with traffic, so we can get to that.
Right.
But you can see that all of these things is that what we need to do. We need to diversify and have monies coming in from different areas. So there is a particular digital nomad. We can continue to grow that. I think Trinidad was some of the persons or one of the countries that was leading it during the COVID time. And we need to have all those different things. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. In this particular case, you can't have it all riding on financial services.
No, absolutely. Well, we did receive, I saw a comment relevant to the value of cruise passenger spend against the backdrop of stayover spend. And I thought it was perhaps the most comprehensive, if not out-of-the-box sort of explanation that I've ever heard on the subject. When we come back, I'm going to share it with our listening audience, because I think it drives home, again, the conversation that this is, as to my colleague's point, a necessary part of Cayman's overall primary revenue. Financial services cannot carry the load alone. Tourism is also a big part of it. Stayover tourism, undoubtedly a big part of it, but so too is cruise tourism. But it is 4:58 in studios, and we need to pause, check in with the BBC News. But there'll be more Straight Talk still to come. 745-2626 is the number. Give us a call right here live on Bobo FM.
BBC News. BBC News. World news from the BBC.
Violent clashes.
Thick black smoke.
A tremendous legal victory.
Crucial elections.
Destructive wind.
A search and recovery operation.
A race against time.
An imminent threat. Flying a drone over a rival team's training session.
Whatever is happening, wherever it's happening, catch up with the latest news bulletins from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
The BBC's From Our Own Correspondent.
In today's Russia, no one is allowed anywhere near the political stage if they pose a serious challenge to Vladimir Putin.
Stories and reflections from our reporters around the world.
There is a major sense of insecurity here.
More people are coming in from Sudan every day.
From Our Own Correspondent from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
How can we understand the world better?
The BBC World Service is a window onto the wider world.
The vantage point from which to survey a new horizon.
News, reports, and analysis from around the world.
Stories we think matter.
Different people from different societies.
We get to the heart of global issues.
News, stories, and global perspectives from the BBC World Service.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
For business, they say location, location, location. But really, there's no better location than right here, right now on your mobile phone or laptop. Buy and sell your pre-owned gear where the island is searching online. Buy and sell on ektrade.com. That's ektrade.com.
Across Cayman on 103.1 FM, online, and on your smart speaker. Powered by Health Services Authority. The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo 103.1.
Hello, I'm Amy McHugh with the BBC News. The French President, Emmanuel Macron, has warned that France and Europe are entering a new era requiring the biggest decisions in decades on defence and security. Speaking on television, he stressed the threat posed by Russia and hoped the United States would remain by Europe's side. Hugh Schofield is in Paris.
And what President Macron was doing this evening was simply talking to the French and saying, these are unprecedented times, make no mistake. The comparison is not with the fall of the Berlin Wall, it's with the liberation of France. It's since then that the continent and France has not had an earthquake of this size. And it's that kind of challenge that the continent is now entering. So it was definitely big revelations this evening. No announcements about how this or that was going to be funded, but it was certainly a way of preparing the people of France for very, very challenging times ahead.
The United States has confirmed that it stopped sharing intelligence with Ukraine after last week's angry encounter between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House. The CIA director said the pause would go away once it was clear President Zelensky was committed to peace. Tom Bateman says that intelligence is essential.
This is absolutely crucial information that the US spy agency gives to its counterparts in Ukraine for both strategic reasons in terms of understanding Moscow's approaches to the war, its next strategic moves, but also tactical information, for example, programming coordinates into artillery rockets like the US-supplied HIMARS system. So the suspension of that information will have an immediate effect on Ukraine's ability to defend itself.
Tom Bateman reporting. The White House has confirmed that a US envoy spoke directly with Hamas in recent weeks in Doha. Its press secretary, Caroline Levitt, told reporters that Israel had been consulted on the matter. It was reported earlier that the special US envoy for hostages, Adam Bowler, had been in discussions in the Qatari capital with the Palestinian militant group, which Washington considers a terrorist organisation, about securing American hostages held in Gaza. The US Vice President J.D. Vance has said the Army will need to get involved to combat Mexican drug cartels along the US southern border.
Unfortunately, we know that because of what's happened, the border crisis has become a matter of national intelligence, and it's also become something that requires the Department of Defense to engage with. The drone technology that the cartels are using requires, unfortunately, a military response and military support.
However, Mr. Vance said the Trump administration did not intend to send US troops into Mexico. He was speaking at a border point in Texas, accompanied by the Secretary of Defense. World News from the BBC. The Bosnian Serb leader Milorad Dodik says he signed a law banning the central state police and judiciary from exercising their powers inside his majority Serb region. He said it restores constitutional jurisdiction to the Republic of Srpska. The move comes after Mr. Dodik was found guilty by a court in Sarajevo of defying decisions of the International High Representative, which oversees the agreement that ended the country's civil war. Syria's foreign minister has vowed to rid the country of the chemical weapons stockpiled by the ousted President Bashar al-Assad. Assad Hassan al-Shabani told the Organisation for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons in The Hague Syria needed technical and logistical help to do so. A UN investigation found the Assad regime used chemical agents during the civil war. Scientists in Britain say they've discovered how the drug aspirin may help stop some cancers from spreading. They made the discovery by accident while experimenting with mice. James Gallagher reports.
There have been hints that aspirin can stop some cancer spreading for more than a decade. Finally, scientists think they understand how. It's in that moment when cells break off the main tumour and try to spread to other parts of the body. Aspirin seems to unleash the immune system, making it easier to seek out and destroy these lone cancerous cells as they try to take root. But should patients be taking aspirin? Well, the medical advice remains no, as there are dangerous side effects, including stroke.
The Nobel Prize laureate and well-known education activist Malala Yousafzai has returned to her hometown in Pakistan 13 years after an assassination attempt by Islamist militants. During her visit to Barkhana in Shangla district, she went to education projects backed by her Malala Fund. Ms Yousafzai said she was overjoyed to be surrounded by mountains and laugh with her beloved cousins. BBC News.
Views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
And welcome back, K-Man. I'm your host, Austin Harris.
And I'm Ellio Solomon.
And together we welcome you to a continued coverage of Straight Talk, brought to you by Bobo 103.1 FM. The phone lines are open at 745-2626, or you can send us a WhatsApp, either via a WhatsApp voice note or a traditional WhatsApp message by dialing 928-2562. Whilst we're broadcasting live over your radio dial at 103.1 FM on our new frequency, ensuring a broader and wider reach across all three Cayman Islands, we are also being simulcast live via YouTube and on Instagram on streaming video, and hopefully very, very soon we'll have us on Facebook as well. Prior to the break, we were chatting about cruise berthing, and my colleague Ellio was sharing some of the troubling numbers that are coming down the pipeline in terms of cruise ship schedule for the month of June. 1 week alone, we're looking at 4 ships for the entire week, so probably looking at one ship a day. That's going to be really hard.
Yeah, not even one ship a day.
Not even that.
Not even that. And again, I'm going to find the numbers for you because this is extremely important.
Yeah.
And again, to know that persons are out there, as heartless as they are, going out advocating that, we got to get rid of cruise tourism. It's terrible. And I had a friend who told me, it's like, why don't we get their picture, right? I think when persons are in desperate need of money because they have no longer a cruise industry, I think you're suggesting, now we'll have someone to know where we can go and get the money.
No, I think that's a very good observation. If we knew who CPR were, if they came out and held meetings like you and the ACT group are doing, and certainly being, transparent in your activities, I just certainly urge persons, whether you are a shop owner in Georgetown, one of the 40 plus who've had to shut your doors down over the last 4 years because of the absence of foot traffic and, of course, a number of road closures and as part of the Georgetown Revitalization Initiative, or whether you are some of those businesses that are likely to be impacted come June, because regardless of what government is, elected, we won't solve the cruise berthing conundrum by June. So there will be a lot of hardships before there is the potential for, manna from heaven. But I would encourage those persons in the cruise industry, those persons in tourism, to get the names and hopefully numbers of some of those persons objecting to these proposals, because certainly when your business does close, you're no longer able to put food on your table, and right before the bank comes knocking to take your
who to
home,
call.
Maybe you can give some of those persons who are suggesting that the island doesn't need cruise tourism, that it's a waste of time and there aren't any Caymanians earning a living from it. Maybe you can give them a call, because certainly you're going to need that financial assistance.
Absolutely.
Now, I say that tongue in cheek because it's probably not going to happen. But what are the alternatives? People are already saying, and if you don't say it, look at the numbers that come out every 2 years in the budget time. What we're paying in welfare allowances to help Caymanians in trouble, whether it be short-term or long-term, continues to rise to disturbing, if not concerning levels. It's getting to the point, much like the civil service or the public service pension debts for the future. It is spiraling to the point where it is getting unsustainable. And what will stand in the way of that? Certainly giving people the opportunity to earn a dollar on the sweat of their brow, so they don't have to depend on government.
Absolutely. And
that is the solution.
Again, I will stress, before, I was the typical Caymanian when it came to a lot of this cruise tourism stuff. When I got elected, I had an opportunity to learn a little bit more. Was dealing with whole issue of port issues. But I even called in my colleague this afternoon. I almost said morning, Austin. But this afternoon, I asked him, I said, how many ships do you recall? I think he's the average guy. You don't spend a lot of time down there. And how many ships do you recall seeing, say, on a daily basis? His number was 2 to 4. And I'm inclined to agree. I do recall seeing 4, 5, even 6 ships out there. There might even been more, but I remember even those numbers. Well, again, if I just look at the calendar here for June of 2025, we are in the year 2025, year of our Lord. The first week is going to have 4 ships. So I want you to understand, you're talking going from 2 to 4 ships a day, and 7 days in a week. And you're now talking about not 4 ships for one day, but 4 ships for the entire week, the first week of June of 2025. And again, I want to encourage persons to understand that when we're talking about these ships dwindling from what you get in a day going down to an entire week, there are human lives attached to this. There are mothers, there are fathers, there are kids who are depending on this in order to feed themselves. The second week only has 1 ship. And the third week, 3 ships. The fourth week has 3 ships, and one of them is on a Sunday. I don't even know how many people are open on a Sunday, but 1 ship on a Sunday and 2 other ships, 1 on a Thursday and 1 on a Friday. This is not going to work, okay? Again, I want you to picture if you had a business. Let's make a cruise ship a customer. And you open your little mom and pop shop, and you've got 2 to 4 customers coming every day. And then somebody tells you, well, it won't be 2 to 4 customers coming every day. It's going to be 2 to 4 customers coming for the entire week. And even 1 customer for the entire week. And I really want you to ask yourself, good common sense, I don't think you need to think very long about it. If you're going to keep your mom and shop open with the customers that you used to get on a day, you're getting now for the week. It can't work, ladies and gentlemen. That's nonsense, okay? And then now I'm looking at July of 2025. It's 4 cruise ships in the first week. Again, the second week, 1 cruise ship. The third week, 3 cruise ships. And in the fourth week, 3 cruise ships. The fourth week here, 1 cruise ship. And we launch on to a 5th week of 3. Not going to work, ladies and gentlemen. Can't cut it. Okay? Your mom and shop, pop shop won't open. And neither will the shops downtown and persons who are depending on cruise tourism. And I know that some smart donkey somewhere is listening and saying, yeah, but I don't depend on cruise tourism. But I'm going to deal with you in a minute. So first week, again, you have 1 cruise ship. Second week, 1 cruise ship. This is in August now. And third week, 2 cruise ships. Fourth week, 2 cruise ships. And in the 5th week, somewhere up in here is 3 cruise ships. So ladies and gentlemen, again, I want you to understand that this can't work. Government collects fees, and I want to remind people that government is we. Government is the royal us. It is you and I that is government. When a road gets fixed in Cayman, when a road gets fixed, it is you and I that are fixing that road. It is our taxes that are paying for it. Whether you're paying it at the pump, immigration fees, I don't care what it is, groceries, whatever it is mine, your tax-paying dollar, because we pay taxes.
Yeah.
They're indirect, but you're paying them. It is you and I doing every single thing that has to be done in this country. No one's doing this for free. So all the politicians that we're going to elect on the 3rd of April 2025 are working for you and I, and they're spending you and I money. They're not just making this. They're not calling Uncle Sam and saying, hey, can you print some money so that we can spend it in Cayman? No, they're getting it from you and I. And of course, a very fundamental question is to ask yourself, well, where are you and I getting it? Well, I'll tell you where we're getting it. We're getting it from places like cruise tourism. There's a guy out there who's, showing people around the country, and then he collects $1,000, and then he comes and spends it with you, even though you have a tire shop. And then he spends it with somebody else and buys a juice at the gas station, which means that even if it's making up 5% of our economy, it means that every 5 persons out of 100 that goes into every single business in this country, arguably, is coming from cruise tourism. So it is impacting your business.
Yeah.
So that means everyone can expect who has a business to say, I'm going to lose 5% of it. Whatever I'm making, just take 5% out of it when we lose cruise tourism. At the absolute minimus, as we would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you and I are the taxpayers. And when the millions that are coming in from cruise tourism, bear in mind that when those cruise ships dock up, whether they get off the ship or not, they're giving our government, which is the royal you and I, they're coming and saying to you and I, the taxpayer, here's $30 million. Here's $60 million. And why am I giving you this? So that you don't have to take it out of your pocket. Here's $60 million from us. We'll help to fund your Department of Environment. The same ones fighting against cruise ships, that kind of thing. And then on top of that, here is some money for your environmental fund in case you have need to protect your environment. Well, we'll pay for that for you as well. And they're paying these things on our behalf. That's really what they're doing. And when it disappears, it means you and I now have to go in our pockets. That's right. Your salaries that you are finding too difficult to feed yourself and your family, well, now you have to pay additional fees because the politicians are going to have to get that money from somewhere.
Yeah.
Do not think that cruise tourism doesn't impact you. Every single thing that brings a dollar into this country is impacting you and I.
Indeed.
If you can see that if I get rid of all of our stayover visitors, you think really your life is going to be the same? You really think that? You think that the government doesn't have to find that money somewhere?
Well, a writer puts it, I think, very succinctly when you make the argument about the value of tourism, be it stayover or cruise. They write, we need to remember when we compare stayover numbers to cruise numbers, we really need to translate this to visitor days. So last year, we had 438,000 air arrivals spending an average of 6 days. So that means, or equates to 2.6 million air visitor days compared to 1.1 million cruise visitor days. The math is simple. 438,000 visitors times 6 days a week gives you 2.6 million. From this perspective, the stayover sector is much larger. But to increase stayover by, say, 37% to 600,000, which, by the way, we've never done. We've barely broken past 500,000 stayover visitors in our 20, 30, 40-year history of stayover visitors, which is, of course, where the accommodation capacity is nearing, will require a huge sales and marketing effort. And I will add, in addition to sales and marketing effort, it will also require even further development, either horizontally, out, or vertically, up. Because, again, the writer acknowledges we are building room capacity in tourism.
Correct.
That's why we see it happening with, the Hotel Kimpton, Hotel Indigo, we got the Grand Hyatt.
There's a cost.
We've got the
Did you say Hyatt?
Word over there by
1GT.
No, not 1GT, but it's being developed there in the Mandarin in up that side.
Beach Bay area?
Beach Bay. That's the word I was trying to get at.
Hey, you want to point that way, by the way.
Point that way. Quite right, exactly. But when people, again, criticize there's too much development, by the same token, they want to lay all their eggs in one basket and stay over. That is going to require more development. But again, back to the writer. So to increase stay over by 37% to reach 600,000 stay over visitors per year will require a huge sales and marketing effort. But one Icon class cruise ship calling weekly could increase current cruise tourism by 300,000 or 30% virtually overnight, with zero sales, zero marketing efforts, just the value of the passengers on board that vessel. Now, again, this is revenue coming in to the country. Let me take this thought even one step further. I was recently advised, today as a matter of fact, that for the first time in 21 years, the government vis-a-vis, or the port vis-a-vis the government, increased port fees. The last time we increased port fees, whether it be cargo or cruise, 21 years ago, we raised some $5 million in new revenue for the government.
Right.
Imagine, I don't know what we increased the port fees to this time around, but certainly that $5 million will be less likely to be attained if, to your point, in June and July and August, we're seeing a decrease in number of ships, as well as, of course, passengers coming into our territorial waters versus passing us by. We could increase the fees 100%.
Maybe 500.
If there are no ships coming in, if there are no passengers entering our territorial waters. And remember, we get paid on the number of cruise ships on board the ship, whether they disembark or not. Once you enter Cayman's 12-mile economic zone and you're, in the Cayman Islands waters, we start attaching our otherwise port fees too. So the country now poised to earn obviously more than it has 21 years ago, but if these ships are not coming into the country, we will lose the revenue attached to that. And I think to Ellio's point, quite correctly, we will lose the benefit of what that revenue pays for. And that will guaranteed have an impact, because one of two things will happen. The services that you depend on today will cease. They will go away. You'll experience long lines at the stores because you'll have inventory problems and less money to spend in the local economy, or your taxes are going to go up. Because that's the only way in which government derives revenue. They either collect it for services they provide, or they collect it in the form of taxation. There's no other way.
And the thing is, Austin, I really just don't understand the thinking of some people. I hope that number is very small. But during your administration, again, you had to deal with COVID, where there were no ships.
None.
Right? So we don't even have to guess this.
And we had 5,000 new people, new mouths that needed to be fed.
We don't have to guess it. We already have COVID that shows us what happens when cruise ships stop coming. You had 5,000 mouths minimum that you had to feed. Right? And again, I want to remind the public, who paid for that? Hold on. Did we call Donald Trump?
No.
Did we call the Queen Mother over there? No. I'll tell you who paid for it. All of you who are listening paid for it. All right?
That's right.
And we're still paying for it. Well, let's understand, when the royal government runs out and borrows $500 million or whatever they borrow to help pay and feed people during COVID, it's you and I paying for it. We have to pay it back.
That's right.
So it is always a good idea if you can get a foreigner to come here and pay the bill for you. I don't know. You ever sit at a bar and pay for that drink yourself? Well, isn't it better if someone buys it for you? It sounds like it's an enjoyable drink, I wish to assure you.
Certainly
so
is.
Have someone else pay the bill. When cruise tourism stops coming here, all of us are going to be feeling it.
Absolutely. And I want to make the point, because you made it. During COVID, cruise shut down, stay over shut down, airports shut down. But there were still people deriving a living from tourism that still had to pay their bills, still had to get groceries, still had to get toilet paper, of all things. The government provided for that. But the government provided it not from introducing new taxes, but from solid fiscal management over several years that allowed for that surplus. Now, why is that important? Why am I saying that's important? Let's fast forward to where we are today. The Auditor General just departed the island, but she didn't depart without leaving us one final report. And that final report indicated that the government seemingly forgotten the debt spiral and the dire situation we were in with our country's finances back in 2005, 2009, seemingly have engaged in that sort of spending spree again, where now we're spending 51% of overall government revenues when we're only bringing in 25%. So very clearly, there is a shortfall. So now, potentially, we're, facing an opportunity to find ourselves in the middle of the perfect storm.
Yeah.
We're moving forward into the future with less buffer, less, protection in terms of, surplus available to us. We have a stated fact that cruise visits are going to decline, but at the same token, our debt financing costs have increased because, again, we had 19 members and everybody had to get every one of their plans, and we had to make sure we spend money on all of them, at least the government side, so at least 13 members getting, everything they wanted instead of having some discipline. So again, these things have a cause and effect. And if you believe these things happen in a vacuum, I'm laughing only because it's not funny, is just wait. He who feels it knows it.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel it yet, you will.
No, absolutely. And I thank you again for bringing up the whole issue about the perfect storm. You're getting into a situation, and bear in mind that, again, during your administration, again, cleverly, you had to get, in addition to all of these challenges, you had to get persons. And again, who helped free the economy? Who kind of helped got the economy going? Again, it was you and I. Why? Because you were given access to your pension. You were given access to your pension to go and buy different things, whether it be lawnmowers, cars, or take a vacation. But that helped to stimulate the economy and get the engine started. You know, when you got that car thing going on in the morning? Well, that was you and I firing up the engine by spending our pension money. And so, to Austin's point about this perfect storm, when we're talking about financial services undergoing removing our secrecy, with the beneficial ownership. We're talking about dwindling cruise tourism numbers, and the list goes on. And bear in mind that even if there were to do a pension thing tomorrow, another pension release, it's not a lot of us that have the same amount of money that we had back in 2020.
And that troubles me even more because I don't know how many times we can go to that particular trough and then
get
realize
money, yeah.
then there are persons, when they retire, they have nothing left. And then what? Yeah. They're going to come knocking on the same government door. And again, as my colleague keeps making the point, government is no more than you and I, the taxpayers. So when we need to raise money, it comes out of our pockets.
Comes out of we pocket.
That's right. That's a reality.
And, so again, whether we talk about cruise tourism, and I'm not here to knock cruise tourism, or stayover visitors. Stayover visitors is good. We absolutely need it. But in order to get a clear picture, you need to look at the full balance sheet. Yes, a person is spending more money, but more money is also needed for more infrastructure.
Correct.
And the road infrastructure, for example, is completely covered by you and I, the taxpayer, right?
So anxious to talk about traffic because it touches on that point.
Everyone is renting cars. So there's more traffic on the roads. There's larger buildings that have to be built. There's a cost. Yeah. And the only how you can get a true understanding of what stayover visitors is really doing is to get a cost.
Yes.
If you look at the numbers, one of the things I threw out, and again, it can probably be less because I think numbers say that the stayover visitors stay for a lesser period of time. But to keep it simple, if stayover visitors are coming and staying for a total of 2 weeks, it means that at 500,000 stayover visitors, it means you've increased your population by 18,000 persons. It means at all points in time, for that entire year, there's 18,000 people in your country. Yeah. Now, that demand means more demand on the CUC for fuel. And bear in mind now, when they got to get one new generator, it is again the royal we, not them. It is the royal we that have to pay for the installation of that new generator.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let's please understand that when you're trying to run a business, and that includes the business called Cayman Islands Limited, that we need different sources of revenues. We would be nothing short of an idiot to open a store, and the only thing that we sell in the store is a rubber doll, okay? You would have to be very lucky one rubber doll is going to give you everything. No, at the end of the day, you got to deal with all your costs. You want to have different products in there because sometimes the rubber doll might not cut it, right? And thinking about that rubber doll. Anyway, I digress.
Well, we do have a comment on the.
Derek, save me from the rubber doll.
I'm saving you. You could get that inappropriate thought out of your head. Where's your bell and your sound effects?
Let me get my bell.
You know.
Yeah, we get that bell.
So, the listener writes, we raised $5 million above what we normally receive in cruise tax fees, cruise passenger fees in the first year of the fee increases. This is going back to 21 years ago, and they're hoping, obviously, to repeat that action. That fee increase, and that increase of $5 million in the first year, allowed the Port Authority of the Cayman Islands to pay for a new crane, which the country absolutely needed, because the current cranes that are in use on the port are over 37 years old. But as we can clearly understand, if our population has grown from 60,000 to 85,000, if we just heard Customs declaring that they earned $415 million from imports last year alone, clearly a lot of that traffic is happening at the ports. So therefore, we need to improve the infrastructure, a.k.a. the cranes, the manpower that exist on that port in order to move that commerce. Again, the writer says those cranes, 37 years old, they have a shelf life. They will one day stop working. But thanks to that increase 21 years ago, we were able to buy a new crane. It's been 21 years. The cranes we have now are also nearing the end of their life, and we have not stopped with imports in this country. All of these issues, and again, I thank the writer for giving us a living, breathing example that we can point to in terms of what does that revenue pay for, and how does that impact my life? Very easily, you can see that if the country is doing well import-wise, obviously you're going to do well because there's more money in the economy being spread around, and some of that's going to end up in your pocket.
Absolutely.
But more importantly, your pocket is not going to be robbed or made less heavy because the government taxes you more in order to raise revenue, which it is not getting from its services.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't know how much simpler to break down that conversation, but there is a cause and effect. And certainly financial services, not always out of the woods yet. So financial services making, a major contribution to the Cayman Islands. But here's the rub as well. The government makes those revenues usually in the first quarter, the first 3 months of every year, when bank licensing, insurance licensing, you name it, financial services fees, law firms, all their fees come due around about the same time. 31st of December is the end of the fiscal year, and most companies set their calendar year to match that. These monies come in at the beginning of the year. What happens, in the summertime for us here in the Cayman Islands? I'll tell you what happens. I'll remind you. It's only happened for every year for 53 years of my life. It's called hurricane season, and thank God we are blessed, not lucky. God has blessed us to, avoid some of the more catastrophic hurricanes. But certainly in the last 5 years, whether you believe climate change is real or not, it doesn't matter whether you believe in it, it's real. And we're seeing that happen with more storms, greater frequency of storms, greater intensity of storms. And we add to it, just one additional, wrench to the plan. Now we don't have 6 or 7 days to prepare for them because they're coming off the coast of Africa. We're seeing development coming out of Central America, and a new term being commonplace called rapid intensification means that a storm could develop in Central America tomorrow, and by this evening, it's a major hurricane. So these are threats that we face every year, and therefore we need to prepare, and more importantly, have the means in which to survive them after the fact. And, people talk about, let the UK take over. You don't want that. You absolutely do not want that.
And there's no reason for us to sit down and lose any more of Georgetown either. I mean, I love going to Cayman Bay, but I remember Georgetown also. And I don't know where this cultural thing has come from, because especially as a younger man and as a kid, I used to love going to the beaches, used to love seeing the tourists. I don't know, I felt good with tourists. And I remember them walking all along the sides of the road by Dixon Graveyard, and it's like you wanted the opportunity to be able to show them off your country. I thought that was a good thing. And, like on the Vote Yes chat today, I think it was some discussions about people, I don't know, showing their butts in the air or something, and people were again asking, where is this cultural infusion coming from? But I'm telling you, it's nothing different with what we're seeing in terms of cruise tourism, because...
Have you been to Badabanu?
Because at the end of the day, it's a situation of, I don't know where a lot of this thinking's coming from. It's definitely, in my opinion, has to be something foreign, something alien, some new Caymanian thinking, because I think cruise tourism is a good thing. I look at my friend Georgie on the front by the dock. I don't know if you've seen him down there, but he has a little shopping cart and it's full of coconuts.
Oh, yes.
And he's chopping coconuts. And, listen, there's been many times he's borrowed coconuts from me. Let's put it down there. But, it is good to see persons like that out there. They're making their own living. They're not, hold on, he's not holding up people with a machete. No one's robbing anyone. They're making a living from cruise tourism. My dream, my vision has to simply be is that we can have piers in Georgetown. We can have cruise tourists coming in. We have our stayover visitors, and we have opportunities for every Caymanian. And understand that these persons coming here and spending their money is allowing it that you and I don't have to spend it. We don't have to try to find it from somewhere else. I don't know about anybody else, but my pocket's not that deep. How about yours, Austin?
I can guarantee you my pockets are not that deep.
All right, good.
We got a message again on WhatsApp. It says, "Hi, Austin and Ellio. I work at the cruise port, and today one of the shop owners asked me why the Royal Watler Terminal can't be open to the public. I don't even have an answer to that. Maybe you do. But years ago, I remember taking my kids to It's Sugar for sweets and ice cream. Sadly, today, It's Sugar is another casualty of the current era, maybe because the port closed off the Royal Watler Terminal. The pain for businesses and employees is real. Thanks for talking about this subject." Well, I think it's a very good point. The Royal Watler Terminal, after it was built and the shops inside there, used to be accessible by the general public. I remember they had a really cool sword shop that lasted about 3 months before it, shut down. But I remember because I could, obviously shop in it. It is now shut down, and I really don't know why. But we have a caller on the line. Let's see if we can take this call before taking a break. Good evening, caller.
I lost him.
Didn't stick around. 745-2626.
Give me that one again, Austin. I'm pretty sure there's somebody that's just joining as well that wants to get a recap of what you just said before you try to take the caller.
Yeah, I work in the cruise port today, and one of the shop owners asked me why the Royal Watler Terminal can't be open to the public. I don't have an answer to that. Maybe you do. But years ago, I remember taking my kids to It's Sugar for sweets and ice cream. Sadly, It's Sugar, which is the name of a business, is another casualty of the current climate. Maybe because the port closed off the Royal Watler Terminal is a reason why that business closed. The pain for business and employees is real. Thank you for talking about this subject here today.
Yeah. Now, the thing of it is that I'll never forget the whole terrorist attack thing, right? Because I think I was coming back home from school on a quick trip. And all of a sudden, I think this was one in the UK, I think it was. Everything changed immediately. I had to take all kinds of stuff out of my bags. It reminded me that I should travel like the barefoot man. He kind of had it right ahead of time.
Yeah.
But so there's a myriad of different reasons. I imagine security being fundamental in terms of not necessarily letting the general public onto the port. But I'll say this: it would be a good idea. The more infusion in terms of people being able to see what's happening, some of the deplorable situation that our tourists have to endure. I think we might understand why we need, in the words of Mosca Colonel, a first-class service seaport, the same way we have a first-class airport, because it is not a good condition, and I would love for people to be able to see it, and I want to encourage them. We have a website that they can go on and see some of those videos as well. Going straight to the phone lines. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. It's Troy Leacock here. I'm listening with interest to your discussions about the value of cruise tourism and the value of cruise tourism vis-a-vis stayover tourism.
Yes, sir.
And I was hoping to maybe give you a little bit of information that might surprise you. It certainly surprised me when I was doing the digging. So the Department of Tourism, in 2019, that's the last year that they had comparative numbers for stayover visitors spend versus cruise visitor spend. And those numbers were presented in the Economic and Statistics Office presentation in 2023 in CI dollars. So the numbers I'm going to give you are in CI dollars, just in case anybody's listening and thinks, well, these don't match the U.S. numbers that we hear kicked around. But so in 2019, using surveys, the Department of Tourism published numbers for cruise visitor spend and for stayover visitor spend. So the cruise visitor spend was $94.90 per visit. And you know, a cruise visitor, if you know anything about the schedules, the average is probably about 6 to 7 hours, usually no more than 9 hours. But if we take an average of, let's say, 8 hours for a cruise visitor, they're spending $94.90 CI in an 8-hour period.
Right.
That works out to $11.86 per hour per cruise visitor. And as you say, even if a cruise visitor actually stays on the ship, they actually get counted in as well to that estimate. So the numbers are quite real, right? So in 8 hours, they're dropping $94.90. Now, the same survey conducted by the same government department, the Department of Tourism, presented as official numbers by the ESO, have stayover visitors spending $201.70 per night. Now, they stay an average of 6 nights. So this is a daily spend, $201.70 per night. Now, everything that I've been able to determine, asking the questions of the DOT, that $201 includes accommodation spend, which, of course, as we know, for most visitors, that's probably their largest spend, is whether it's hotels or condos or Airbnb. Right. So you have to take that $201, and if you're converting to an hourly spend like we just did for cruise, that $201 would be divided by 24 hours. Well, that works out to $8.40 per hour versus cruise visitors spending $11.86 per hour. Now, you do the math, and what that tells you is that a cruise visitor spends 41% more per hour on the island than a stayover visitor. Now, I am not going to stand here and say stayover isn't valuable, because it absolutely is. And in my business, it represents almost 90% of my business.
Right.
But the point that I'm making is that cruise tourism is a $165 million business in which, between 12 and 15,000 people maximum spend $94 when they visit here. That is not a trivial amount of money.
Nope.
And to Ellio's point that he was just making, when you actually look at how many cruise visitors are on the island at any one time versus stayover visitors, there are more stayover visitors on the island. People think that it's only 500,000 or last year 437,000 visitors, but they're here for 6 days. So when you convert it into visitor days, the reality is we have more stayover visitors on the island at any given time than we have cruise visitors. But those cruise visitors are spending more per hour in the time that they're here.
Shorter period of time,
So,
more money.
Absolutely. And in fact, sometimes they don't even stop long enough to do anything on the island, because they get off a boat, they jump on another boat, they go out to Stingray City. As soon as they get back on land, they're back on, and the ship is gone.
Well,
So
I was going to say that, Troy, because, and I thank you first of all for raising these points, some excellent points. Glad to see you went digging and doing all that homework. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, no,
but
absolutely.
even when you use the 8 hours for cruise tourists, right?
Yeah.
Bear in mind that the numbers show us that the cruise tourists in Cayman that come ashore and spend time are only spending about 3.8 hours. Right?
Well, there you go. So 8 is generous.
So again, 8 is very generous. Yeah, very generous.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of money is dropped when these visitors, come here, and this is why when people are so dismissive, they only, these, the cruise passengers, they don't spend any money, they only spend this amount of money or whatever. No, they actually come here with an intention, and they spend money very quickly, and a lot of that money goes to small and micro businesses. That's the other really important thing. When you compare where the money is spent, it is spent, the majority of the money is spent with activity and transportation, right? And that predominantly in Cayman is owned and operated by Caymanians. It's a small and micro businesses. So again, it's just really important that when people are looking at cruise tourism, that they really recognize the immense value of cruise tourism. Because even compared to stayover, which we all appreciate, it is still substantial, and it is more per hour spent than stayover.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll just leave you with that.
You left us with a lot. Thank you.
No, indeed. Certainly do appreciate the call. 745-2626 is the phone line, or, of course, if talking on the phone isn't your thing, and you want to save those valuable credit minutes, then you can send us a voice note via WhatsApp by dialing 928-2562 or a traditional WhatsApp message Before we go to another WhatsApp message, you wanted to comment on the caller's remarks.
No, well, I think, well, first of all, again, as I did earlier, I want to thank him very much for doing all the homework there and passing that information on to us. I think it's very, very good. I would just add, like I said, when he was saying, and he mentioned 8 hours, and the numbers show. And I think he's looking at something slightly different, probably total ship duration, right? But the actual stay over in terms of the person coming ashore and how much time they get to spend, they only get to spend about 3.8.
Yeah.
So really now you would have to do some math that would range between 8 hours and 3.8 and kind of see where that carries you. But that is a significant research that he's just done there to show you that the greater spend is actually coming from cruise tourists.
Yeah, no, indeed.
And again, I just want everybody to just really take it on board, and again, keeping it on people's mind that we have to vote on this, we have to vote on 2 other issues, but on cruise tourism. 3rd of April, 2025, we're all voting yes for cruise tourism.
And I just want to just pick up on the comment that he made in terms of spend. So again, $94 per day in 8 hours by the cruise passenger compared to $201 per day for the stayover passenger, about a 113% difference. However, because the cruise passenger are here for a shorter period of time, so they got to cram in a lot of activity within a very short window of time, they are in fact spending more per hour than the stayover visitor is, because obviously they have more days in which to do it. I just want to add to it. If you listen to cruise experts, and certainly if you look at the statistics available from the Port Authority of the Cayman Islands, I'd encourage you to log on to paci.gov is their website, then you will note that somewhere in the region of 30%, maybe some cases higher, cruise passengers don't even get off the ship. So whilst we are deriving a cruise passenger tax on the number of cruise visitors on that ship, regardless of those who come off the ship or not, that $94 would increase substantially
if you could get them all off.
If you could get 100% off, or even as much as 90%
I'm
off
so
the
glad
ship.
you raised that, Austin, because I was actually on another program and that same issue came up, because I said, I don't think all those persons are coming off.
No.
And if you're saying now that, again, Port Authority numbers is saying 30% of them don't come off, and we are seeing all of these benefits from cruise tourism, again, this is where a pair comes in. Because a big part of the reason why they're not coming off is handicap. You've got the elderly on there. And I'm sorry, as much as they might even want to enjoy a tender ride, they can't.
No.
And you need to be able to make it that it's easy for these people to come on and off. And if you can even get it, like you've just said, to that 90%, rather than having 30% them staying on the ship and only 70% off, we're talking significant gains.
Absolutely. And again, you mentioned two groups, handicap and elderly. It's not just the persons who either are physically disabled or are too old in order to make the trek, but those persons who are traveling with them.
Yeah.
Those handlers, that person pushing the wheelchair.
It's got to stay with them.
That son, holding the arm.
Excellent
So
point.
all of these persons are being compounded. This is where we lose potential revenue. And again, these are real numbers. A writer says, good evening, guys. God bless. I think most people that are against the port are against it because they don't think, are not against it because they don't think it's not needed. I think they're wondering what will happen in case of storms and hurricanes in Georgetown Harbor. We already see what happens in bad northwesters. Insurance will go up with damages, and the people end up paying for it in the long run. Not everyone is willing to put money over lives. Well, again, I want to break down that comment for a second. He says, or they say, I don't know if it's male or female, they say that we see what happens in bad nor'westers. Yeah, we see what happens in bad nor'westers to wooden decks like Lobster Pot and anywhere else. They are impacted, oftentimes torn up. But we have nor'westers and hurricanes in Georgetown. We have a dock in Georgetown.
We've been having them for quite a while.
We've had it for a while, and we have another one in Cayman Brac, which is probably closer of an example as to what would be built, because the cargo port in Cayman Brac is, in fact, sitting on a concrete slab, supported to the ground by piles. So individual columns, if you will, that still allow for the whole current and the movement of sand and sediment, et cetera, et cetera. But the difference here is concrete and steel compared to wood, or in some proposals I've read in the last 10 years, even this notion of a floating dock. And an example of this, perhaps you could see, go to the yacht club. The yacht club today, they've got, I think, 4 different berths or 4 different gates. What you walk on is not grounded or connected to the ground. It's a floating system. Now, there are ways in which that floating system, again using the yacht club as an example, Nor'westers come and go, but it's sitting in a protected harbor. Can't forget that little tidbit. It's not in an open, an open waterway like it is on the leeward side, where there are no reefs, and really you're in the direct line of assault from whatever Mother Nature throws at you. But if we were to go a floating dock approach in, say, Hogseye Bay, and there was a serious nor'wester or hurricane, then yes, to the writer's point, there is a chance for damage. Picking up that floating dock and bringing it ashore and going through buildings and going through business owners.
Let me jump in. You're going to get damage. You can get damage to the dock, but it's not coming ashore. Let me just show you quick math, right? In order for you to find this out, you're going to take a dock that's going to be 1,700 feet long. And let's just say it's only 2 feet thick. Let's say it's 75 feet wide. Okay? 255,000 cubic feet of concrete sitting there. I'm not even adding in the columns. Multiply that by 150 pounds, which is roughly what a cubic foot of concrete weighs. That's 38,250,000 pounds. You don't move 38 million pounds very easily. I'm not saying it's impossible, but so I think just like with our cargo pier, you can get damage to it. But I don't think anybody really honestly has to worry about 38, or in this particular case, maybe even 75 million pounds coming and sitting on shore. I don't really think you have that. And all of the pier designs that I've seen, they angle them at a certain angle from the northwest perspective to be able to accommodate, facilitate, allow it to better navigate the whole issue of northwesters. I know persons who are against the pier. They take this approach that one of my brothers call it. I can't say the word on there. I'll give the acronym for Special High Intensive Training. You can spell it yourself, Special High Intensive Training. They throw as much as that against the wall as possible, hoping that something will stick. Right. Okay? Let's just stop that. That's not going to work. Nothing is going to be taking 75 million pounds and pushing it on shore. And that's just one dock. It's not going to happen.
All right. Fair enough. Well, 745-2626 is the number, or you can WhatsApp us either by sending us a WhatsApp voice note or sending us a traditional WhatsApp message. I do have a voice note. Let's see if we can have a listen as to what is said.
I just want to say that hopefully the new government, if it's going to be, Ms. Juliana O'Connor Connolly, or if there's going to be another premier that's going to replace her in the new elections, that you would, take into consideration seriously the cruise tourism, the importance of it, and don't try to derail something that we need for the country. Okay? The vision has been shared to our people, and we need people to jump on board and make sure that we see this through. Okay? It's not a political football, and it should not be a political football. I think everybody need to put their shoulders to the wheel and get this program over. Make sure that we get this cruise built, this cruise port built, cruise pier, or whatever it is. We need to make sure that we get this done and don't use cruise tourism as a political football. Okay? It is something that we need.
Absolutely.
Yeah, indeed. It's
very intelligent lady. I'd like to thank her for those views. Greatly appreciated.
Yeah,
somebody
indeed.
Understands.
And again, it won't be a political football if obviously the voters who go to the polls to elect the next government, which
will vote yes.
It could be the next premier, could be Juliana, it could be somebody else. There is at least 3 other could-be's in the mix out of a total of some 58 candidates. So who knows?
Well, to her point.
But to her point, if the voters exercise their right to participate in the referendum and specifically vote yes for cruise berthing, then certainly the government will have their direction and arguably their mandate from the people. Then certainly they can't use it as a political football. They'll have to obviously address it. And I think all parties, with the exception of maybe one group, which seems to be very environmentally friendly, the TCCP, seem to be, in line with, supporting the notion of cruise berthing. Though perhaps we haven't heard from all of them, so we'll have to wait and see and can't necessarily cast one
You're
group.
saying the TCCP is supportive, you said?
No, it's not supportive.
It's not, okay.
I think so. Everything that we've heard so far is that they're more environmentally conscious.
Yeah, and again, you know, they throw out the environment, but this is, I want to let the public notice as well. We have given numerous invitations to the CPR, right, to come and sit down at a table. Let's have a discussion. Let's iron out these issues. And again, whether private or public, this has been done by CMR. It has been done by ourselves, inviting them. The minister has invited them. Still nothing. And you know why you don't come? Because you don't have an argument. That's why you don't come. Because I can tell you that whether you want to vote environmentally, or whether you want to vote financially, or whether you want to vote with a little bit of heart and consideration socially for your fellow Caymanians, every one of those three things, that triad there, will point you in the direction that you have to vote yes for cruise tourism. What is destroying our environment, if there's such an environment out there to be concerned, is when you have ships dropping anchors every day, as in 2014, destroying 16,000 square feet of coral or whatever they destroyed. That's what's bad for the environment. A ship that with the thrusters running constantly, polluting the water, is what's bad for the environment. Tenders running up and down constantly is what is bad for the environment. A ship parked against a pier is not bad for the environment. So whether environmentally, financially, or socially, with a little bit of love and care for your fellow man who needs this industry to feed themselves and their family. In fact, I'll add a fourth one. And so that you, the taxpayers, don't have to go digging and find the money yourselves. Because the royal government is the royal we. Then you have 4 good reasons to go to the polls on the 3rd of April 2025 and vote yes for cruise tourism.
Indeed. Well, the time in studio is now 5:56 p.m., or actually 5:55 and 45 seconds, giving us just over 3 minutes before we have to pause and take a short commercial break, check in with the BBC News and a few commercial messages. But the phone lines remain open. 745-2626 is the number. And we have been chatting almost all show on the subject of cruise berthing. And again, reminding the listening audience, obviously, that on April 30th, not only will you have an opportunity to vote for who you believe should be the next representative and therefore the next government of the Cayman Islands, but you will also be presented with 3 referendum questions, one of which will be on the subject of cruise berthing. And it's a simple yes or no question. Do you support cruise berthing? Yes or no? And certainly the end results will be able to be used by future administrations to obviously give them a steer as to what the people feel on the subject. Our role in all of this, and again, I raise my hand as a one-time, perhaps, cruise ship berthing opponent, but certainly after being elected and seeing the number of people who derive a living from it, realizing how important it is for our economy, not just those persons who are directly linked to cruise tourism, but as we see certainly in the last 4 years in central Georgetown, where 40-plus businesses have been forced to shut down because of the absence of foot traffic. A lot of that traffic, yes, due to the road closures and the Georgetown Revitalization Initiative, but there are many restaurants downtown that cruise ship visitors certainly would visit when they, are in town or when they're in harbor. So all of these things have an effect, and we certainly see a dwindling in new revenue, and as such, moms and pops stores, small to medium-sized businesses, have closed their doors. And again, it's not just in the central Georgetown body, but as one writer identified quite rightly, even there on the dock in the Royal Watler Terminal itself, closed. Businesses are closing down, and you can't get. And with these numbers, it's not going to get any better. And again, with the numbers you look at going forward, the June planned schedule for cruise arrivals in this country have it down to not 4 ships a day, but 4 ships a week. That does not spell good news for businesses certainly deriving a living from cruise tourism, both now and in the future. And there are some real consequences. People are worried about foreclosures. That's going to be next. Your business closes first. You have to, create layoffs. That's increasing the unemployment statistics. More persons without a means to derive an income. And then shortly thereafter, not too long, when your savings dry up and you're no longer able to pay your mortgage, and we find ourselves in a crisis. It can happen that quickly. And if you don't believe me, again, don't take my word for it. Go back to the past. The past is the best example to teach you for the future.
And you were there, Austin.
And we were there. But we do have to pause, take a short break. But keep it locked. There'll be more Straight Talk with Ellio and Austin coming up next on Bobo FM.
With you in mind, we have your style. Find what you need down every aisle. You want saving, selection, and quality. That's why we're your home store. Home store. The way to make a home. The way to make a home.
The BBC World Service, the world's radio station.
The BBC World Service makes programs with a uniquely global perspective.
Enlighten us. Where do we start?
The latest world news and current affairs.
The very best in global arts and culture.
What has been happening on the financial markets today.
Social issues, political stories.
Everything was there in a way that I never heard before.
The BBC World Service.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
Welcome to our newsroom here in central London. We place ourselves here at a little desk right in the thick of things.
OS from the BBC.
We can catch the very latest news from our colleagues, not just in this enormous room, but also from our colleagues around the world.
I'm in the room where they're treating children.
This is a combat zone.
The situation after the typhoon is very complicated.
It was a very tense situation.
OS from the BBC.
The home of the BBC World Service. This is Bobo FM.
At Polar Bear Air Conditioning, we believe in helping you to avoid costly mistakes and replacements. That's why we offer a quarterly maintenance program at a discounted price. You'll receive a 10% discount on all repairs, accessories, and services. Priority front-of-the-line customer status, reminders of your service, and no overtime rate for after-hours calls. Why not save money and avoid hassle with Polar Bear Air Conditioning? Need service now? Book our AC special for just $99. Book the next available technician at polarbear.ky. That's polarbear.ky.
BBC News, hello, I'm Eileen McHugh. The French President, Emmanuel Macron, has warned his compatriots that France and Europe are entering a new era requiring the biggest decisions in decades on defence and security. In a televised address, he stressed the threat posed by Russia.
Beyond Ukraine, the threat of Russia is there, and it touches European countries and is touching us. And Russia has made the conflict in Ukraine a world conflict. 15 days ago, I went to defend this in the United States, and I want to believe that Ukraine will be protected, but we must be ready if it's not the case.
Our Europe editor, Danny Eberhard, assesses what's behind Mr. Macron's speech.
He's trying to sensitise the French people to the need for massive increases in defence spending. He was talking about doubling the army budget by 2030 and without raising taxes, but he's also on issues, for example, like the kind of security guarantees that they could offer to Ukraine in the future in the event of any peace settlement. So the idea that French troops might actually be deployed to Ukraine. So some very serious themes coming out there. And all of this obviously is taking place just a day ahead of an emergency European summit on defence.
The United States has confirmed that it stopped sharing intelligence with Ukraine after last week's angry encounter between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House. Military aid was suspended at the same time. Losing US intelligence will make it harder for Ukraine to defend itself against attack and strike Russian targets. President Trump has said Hamas should immediately release all the hostages still held in Gaza, threatening dire consequences if it does not. He also called on Hamas leaders to leave the enclave. Earlier, the White House and Hamas both confirmed they had had direct talks on securing US-Israeli hostages' release. Paul Adams is in Jerusalem.
A senior Hamas official has told the BBC 2 direct meetings have been held with an American official. The White House spokeswoman, Caroline Leavitt, said President Trump's special envoy for hostages, Adam Boehler, had the authority to conduct negotiations. Israel's only official reaction so far has been a terse statement from the office of the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. Israel, it said, had expressed to the United States its position regarding direct talks with Hamas. It's not clear how much Israeli officials were told about the negotiations.
The US Vice President J.D. Vance has said a military response is needed to combat Mexican drug cartels, who he said were using drone technology to penetrate the US southern border. But he said the Trump administration did not intend to send troops into Mexico. Mr. Vance was visiting a border point in Texas. You're listening to the latest world news from the BBC. Scientists in Britain say they have discovered how the drug aspirin may help stop some cancers from spreading. The study found that the cheap painkiller boosted the ability of the immune system to fight cancer cells. Researchers at the University of Cambridge made the discovery by accident while experimenting with mice. They're hoping cancer patients could be prescribed the drug. The Bosnian Serb leader Milorad Dodik says he's signed a law banning the Central State Police and judiciary from exercising their powers inside his majority Serb region. He said it restores the authority of the Republika Srpska. Guy Deloney reports.
Milorad Dodik has been redoubling his efforts to withdraw the majority Serb Republika Srpska region from Bosnia's national institutions. That's alarming Bosnia's other ethnic groups and its international supporters. They view the legislation banning national judicial authorities as secessionist. The Bosnian Serb leader argues otherwise. He claims the measures restore what he calls Republika Srpska's constitutional jurisdiction, and he insists they'll come into force on Friday, but they're likely to be challenged in the Constitutional Court.
The right-wing influencer Andrew Tate says he will return to Romania in a few days' time from the US state of Florida. On Tuesday, legal authorities there opened a criminal investigation into his activities and those of his brother Tristan. Self-declared misogynists who are British and American citizens unexpectedly flew to Florida last week after Romanian prosecutors lifted a travel ban. They deny all accusations. The Nobel Prize laureate and well-known education activist Malala Yousafzai has returned to her hometown in Pakistan 13 years after an assassination attempt by Islamist militants. She visited education projects in Shangla district backed by her Malala Fund. The area was sealed off to provide security for her visit. BBC News.
Welcome.
The views and opinions expressed on Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio do not necessarily reflect or represent the views of Stingray Media, its staff, or contributors. Callers to the program accept full responsibility for the views expressed. The show host and affiliates are not liable for any statements made or any harm claimed. All callers to the program indemnify Straight Talk from all claims. Offensive, defamatory, or unlawful content will not be tolerated. Be a part of the conversation by calling 745-2626. Now, here's Straight Talk with Austin and Ellio on Bobo 103.1.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Cameron Crosstalk. Hit me Crosstalk. Straight Talk. Did I do that deliberately, Austin?
I don't know. Did you?
Yeah, welcome back to Straight Talk with your host, Austin Harris, and myself, Ellio Solomon. Right here in the studio, number to call is 745-2626. Right, broadcasting on your new favorite station, Bobo.
That's right.
FM 103.1. And of course, I don't know why Austin wants me to bring us in at the last break. I think it might be something Ellio giving you the last word.
Well, yeah, I don't want you to feel as
go
if,
home crying.
Crying and weighing, but Austin talk more than me. He don't want to give me no opportunity, so I make sure that at 6 o'clock, it is all you. Actually, there's nothing like that at all. It just so happens that, we've been on the air now for, this is, again, I think a 13th episode. Friday will be 15th or 4 months, a month since we've been broadcasting. And I noticed that, obviously we air check ourselves, go back and listen to our past shows. It's good practice to obviously improve the quality of both in terms of what we say, but also what we deliver.
Right.
But I noticed that, whether we did so, we don't do it on purpose, but it just so happened to be that way.
It just happened.
At 6 o'clock, it's all you. There's no, I'm Austin, I'm Ellio, and this and back and forth. There's none of that at 6 o'clock because it's always been you. So, I'm a creature of habit.
Well, I got to say it again. You always got somebody new joining in. But from the time you and I started, that was November of 2006, and I know it well. It was November 2006. Again, we were described as lightning in a bottle.
Yes.
And we have never had anything where we rehearse, okay, Austin, we're going to talk about this topic.
That's right.
I want you to cover that area. I'll cover nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
There's no... we don't mean this in a bad way. This is a good way. It's just this energy, it's just this synergy, and it's just flows. We just, so even with the 606 bringing it in, it just happened at some point. And then
it just happened. Yeah.
It just became the way it happens. I just bring you in at 606.
Indeed. And I want to just add to that. Whilst, we do have plans. Don't get us wrong. We do make plans for our discussions. Like tomorrow, for example, we'll have a guest. We'll be talking, potentially for the whole show on the whole immigration transition white paper, the first step towards immigration reform and changes outlined therein. That's a show that obviously we've had to plan in advance. Obviously, we've done our own individual researches on the topic and certainly have scheduled a guest. So there has been some planning there. But today, as another example, it's been a slow news day because, well, it's a public holiday. Journalists are taking the day off. So we're the really only ones both on the air and I dare say in the building that are still working. So we didn't have a set topic, but we turned the microphones on and something found its way on the table and we just ran with it. So yeah, and that is that lightning in the bottle. It doesn't happen with everyone. And to your point, after you left me for brighter futures, I had to hustle whilst you were gone, but it doesn't always work.
You followed me for brighter futures, though.
Well, I did. After a while, I got lonely. I said, well, you know what? He might have a point. Let's go down that road and see what it's all
I know
about.
what you said to yourself. What you said to yourself is, he was here with me just a minute ago.
Just a minute ago.
And then I saw him stand over there, and he caught the yellow bus.
He did. He did.
I bet if I stand over there, I could catch the yellow bus.
And he started wearing suits, and he looked so good in those suits that maybe I could wear those suits. And there you go.
We've all been inspired. That's why I even told Sterling Dwayne, I said, even though at the time you didn't get elected, I said, you inspired me. Yes. I said, wow, that little guy's audacious.
Indeed. But also I make a very good point. There are ways in which you can contribute to the country in which you live in. I consider myself a patriot. I know my colleague considers himself a patriot. And whether you are running for office, again, I don't believe politicians are corrupt. I don't believe they start out that way. And I don't believe largely they do it on their own, as we've been talking about. Before I have to buy your vote, you have to be selling your vote. So there is a bit of a symbiotic relationship there. When you point fingers, just remember you got three pointing back at you. Yep. But likewise, my decision this time around not to run for office had nothing to do with me wanting to, as somebody say, retire and move to the BRAC. Because I was so quiet. I was quiet because, oftentimes it's said when you get up and start speaking your mind as the one who lost, you're saying, well, you're doing so because, you're mad because you lost and you're biased and, you just want to give the government a hard time. I stayed out of it. But I also decided that, there are other ways that I can contribute to the land of my birth and the land that I love without having to be inside the belly of the beast, so to speak. But perhaps on the outside, on the menu, but not in the belly. And that's where, I've landed. I'm glad, thrilled that, it's you that I get the opportunity to work with because we do have that fantastic historical track record, lightning in a bottle, or whatever you want to call it, but it works, and it has worked, and it's working again, and by all indications, it's resonating with our listening audience, who are the most important in this little equation.
Absolutely.
So we do appreciate it. 745-2626 is the number.
Not much time left.
Not much time, about 17 minutes before we have to wrap it up for today. But still a lot of room for...
I've been trying out my new bell.
For weeks, Ellio has been
thanks
saying
to my special friend.
We need sound effects. Well, so yesterday he went out and bought himself a cowbell.
No.
Or a T-bell.
Well, all I'm going to say is we're gonna figure out all the appropriate times to use this.
Right.
I'm thinking like a caller, taking too long.
Here you go. 30 seconds. Warning.
A myriad of different reasons you might be hearing the bell. Like Indeed. It could be Austin or I saying something silly, like, rubber dolls or something.
Well, we now have sound effects, and whether you like it or not, we can expect those sound effects to only grow. And we have that one for those big shot moments, when you send a shot across a politician's bow, or you just make a comment that is just cold, hard, unadulterated truth, but people are impressed because you had the nerve to say it That's what that button is
That
for.
one, yeah.
That's what that button
I like
is
that.
for.
I like that.
That's a yeah, man, I think we're in session or something.
Are we going to put that in the part of our governor's model? We'll be getting all these sound effects and making sure they're properly attributed. We can't have them,
no.
going off at random. They need to be properly.
Everything has its purpose and its place. Make no mistake.
I can tell we both had like similar moms. Right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Everything is
There's
in proper
nothing happening
place,
in this
Austin.
studio by accident. Make no mistake about it. We may not have planned it that way, but it's not by accident.
All prim and proper.
All prim and proper. If talking isn't your thing, you want to save those valuable credits, certainly you can utilize our WhatsApp phone options by dialing 928-2562. You can either send us a WhatsApp voice note, which we can play on air, or a traditional WhatsApp text message. For whatever reason, we can't take WhatsApp phone calls. And again, that's just one of the things that we're going to have to work around. Reminding our listeners, though, most importantly, and we're going to be doing this almost every day for the next 30 days, that we are and can be found on our new frequency, 103.1 FM on Bobo. We just recently changed transmitters, enabling the station to have a much wider and clearer reach across all three Cayman Islands. So you're going to want to start to delete 89.1 FM. However, you can still pick us up on 89.1 FM for at least 30 days, but only for a little while. Come April, not April Fool's Day, but maybe April 2nd or 3rd, it's going to disappear, and you will get nothing but static. Doesn't mean we're off the air. It just means, as usual, we Caymanians wait to the very, very, very last minute before we do anything.
I think that's actually, I think they have a name for that, right? It's like Parkinson's law or something like that.
I thought it was procrastination.
No, well, the project takes as long as the amount of time that you have. You ever notice, like, you could have one job. It's like a simple job.
Right.
You write a 100-word essay. Right? It's super short.
Super short. And with ChatGPT, even shorter.
No, forget that ChatGPT. I mean, this one's easy.
Right.
I'm trying to make a point.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
And
ring the bell, for goodness sakes. I'm clearly interrupting at the wrong time.
And for some reason, you have a week to do it, right?
Right. There you go.
You have a week to do it.
Pavlov's dog. Now I know. I'm trained.
You have a week to do it, and you wake up on Monday, you go, okay, I'll just do that tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then it just keeps dragging on, and you know exactly when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen late Friday night. I'm supposed to have this tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah.
And then quickly you do it. So I think I'm going to look that up.
Yeah.
I think it's actually called Parkinson's.
Well, some folks just, they strive on a stressful environment.
Yeah, I hear
other
you.
folks, they want to have things in order, in place, so they don't stress out. It's like air travel. Some folks want to get to the airport literally 2 hours before departure and then feel stressed out by the time they sit down in the plane, versus other folks who get there a good 4 or 5 hours in advance, get through check-in, get through customs, sit in the departure lounge, maybe put their feet up, maybe get a little something to munch on, stroll on the plane, never once breaking a sweat, and then comfortably depart, from there. No stress.
Austin, you know that I didn't look this up, right?
I know you didn't look it up.
You know I didn't look it up.
I know you didn't look. I didn't see your head go down once.
For the benefit of those who are still in their cars, with the knobs, and can't see me, I didn't look this up, right?
No.
Okay, good. So I type it as a Parkinson's law states. This is my response. Parkinson's law states that the work expands to fill the time available for its completion. Explanation: if you set 1 week, I said, wow, amazing. I said the same example 1 week, right? To complete a task, it will take a full week, even if it could be done in 2 days.
So is that someone sending you a message?
No, this is my friend ChatGPT.
Okay, your friend ChatGPT. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
But my point is I didn't look it up on my friend ChatGPT until we just discussed it, and it actually gives me the exact 1 week example.
Wow.
So what does this mean? Maybe my mind is now kind of merged.
Well, is that, or of course, I think it's that algorithm that exists in most social media apps, ChatGPT or otherwise.
What's the algorithm?
It charts and keeps track of your searches across the
but
web.
I never searched that one.
And then it says, this is what you want.
No, I never searched that one.
So you're saying you picked up your phone and you had that definition there on your phone reading on you?
No, I typed it in just now saying, what's Parkinson's law?
Yes.
So I can show you where my question is.
Right.
And it just pulls, the amazement is that, see my question right there?
Yes.
What's Parkinson's law?
Right.
And then it gives me the exact 1 week example that I just gave. I'm just saying, this is freaky. This is freaky.
Okay, gotcha. Because you said you didn't look it up. I go, well, hang on.
Well,
you didn't look it up. It didn't just appear on your phone.
No. It didn't appear
But
on
the
my phone.
example they gave is the one you just used.
I just used the 1 week one. I'm like, why did it give just the 1 week? Like, why didn't it say a month?
You have a brain like Siri or ChatGPT. It's that advanced, buddy.
What? Hold on. I feel like you're blowing smoke on it.
You think? Yes, I thought I smelled smoke. Yes, that's right. That's right.
Pull my laughing string.
He's quick, ladies and gentlemen. He's quick. Let me tell you, not many things go over. Not many things go over his head.
Enough of that, Bob. We're moving on here. Ref.
Now's a good opportunity to remind our listening audience. Obviously, we're digressing away from our cruise birthing conversation. Tomorrow, we will be hosting none other than Mr. Mario Ebanks. He's a regular caller to the program. Certainly since we started, there was a terrific article published about him, about his thoughts in terms of building, the workforce of the future. That article appeared in February in the Caymanian Times, which, of course, prompted the planning stage. My colleague and I, as rarely as we do it, we did plan in this instance to say, why not utilize his skills in human resource and workforce development to help us go through, dissect, or deep dive into the current Immigration Transition Act 2022 white paper that was put forward by the present Minister of Border Control, the Honorable Dwayne Seymour, that is up for public consultation. And we'll dive into it tomorrow, take a look at what it proposes, as I call it, the good, the bad, and the pointless, and help us to gain a better understanding of it. It certainly represents the first action on immigration reform since, of course, the previous administration separated the immigration or the labor component from the border control component of immigration. Again, if you don't know what this means, once upon a time the word immigration meant border control and the labor market, but obviously that very easily to see how the wires can get crossed and sometimes difficult in a small jurisdiction, so we separated it. And I think so far, by all indications, it's going very well. But the people are still clamoring. Locals are still clamoring, much like they are across the U.S. and across Europe, that locals are the victims of an otherwise successful economy, and immigration reform is where it needs to start. I attribute it to the cruise birthing conversation. We had 4 years in which to address this challenging subject, but we waited until the 11th hour to start talking about cruise birthing, and then we put it in a referendum, so the solution won't come until the next administration. So again, it can't be ticked off on this administration's list of accomplishments. Likewise, the same with immigration reform. Arguably, it has been talked about. Arguably, some would say it has been a mandate given to you from the people, but who was listening? Nobody, clearly, because we're only tackling it now at the 11th hour when we're about to head into a general election. So therefore, whatever yields we may gain from our conversation tomorrow and whatever information the government may glean from this public consultation process will not benefit this administration one iota, but certainly will be available to the next administration should they decide that immigration reform is a priority.
Well, as I'm sure you won't mind, let me add balance to that particular discussion about the referendum, right? In fairness to the present government, I think you had a situation where during your administration, again, the PPM was very proactive in terms of trying to get things done on the whole piers and cruise tourism.
Yeah.
Again, really being driven forward by the minister at the time, Mr. Moscow Colonel.
Yes.
But kudos to them, and they brought forward this plan. But again, the showstoppers, CPR, the showstoppers are the one who was saying, we want a referendum on this. And I think, in fairness to this administration and any other one, you would say this is in limbo. This is something now that the public has spoken, because your government tried to have a referendum. I mean, the Honorable Alden McLaughlin basically said, I'm trying to give you the referendum. No, you don't want it.
Right.
Right. Again, but they didn't really want a referendum. They just want to stop the show. And that's a show for another discussion, or a discussion for another show. But the bottom line of it is, it was still out there, and it needs to be dealt with, because there was that push and that there was that authorized people-initiated referendum. So in fairness to this government, I think that coming forward with a referendum is arguably one of the things that it just had to happen.
Yes.
Again, because to simply come forward with, again, a new proposal and report, it would be like, have we done this?
Yeah.
What was lingering is the fact that the people supposedly said they want to have a referendum.
Right.
And I think we should have it. And I'm hoping, and I 100% believe that on 3rd of April 2025, people are going to vote yes. But it has to happen because one way, shape, or another, we need the voice of the people so that we can move on. We can have a direction.
Yeah.
And so in fairness to the government, I think you had to have a referendum on it.
And certainly to pick up on your point, again...
And sorry, I would just add, I respect the minister for being brave enough. I will say this. I also respect the minister for being brave enough to do that because this is a national issue that I think in the single-member constituency, as I'm sure you're aware, there's some issues that you take on. You do not get any benefit from that. You're not going to get any benefit from that. It'll be like, Austin, just get out there, shake some hands, drink some beers, and get yourself elected.
Right.
And here's a person, again, putting it on the table, risking your election in order to deal with something that you believe is nationally important. And again, kudos to the minister for that. But you were going to say.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, in terms of the same, what was the term you used to define the CPR group? The
showstoppers.
The showstoppers. Thank you very much. I wanted to make sure I get the right quote. The showstoppers. I was having a conversation today on WhatsApp about that very same port, where again a writer sent us the same picture of the ship stocking in Key West and the silty bottom kicking up. We had addressed this previously.
Yeah.
Some people are gluttons for punishment, so we had to say again that's irrelevant in the Cayman context because, you know, one, you're looking at Key West, shallow bottom, shallow sandy bottom, whereas Hogstye Bay, much deeper water that is both rock and coral bottom, so you wouldn't have the same effect. Then the writer goes on to say, well, you know, where is the plan? Where's the information so that we can, you know, have something
more to argue about?
More to argue about is what it is, because in truth and fact, the previous administration, led by the former Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Moses Kirkconnell, presented perhaps the most comprehensive plan, visual aids, written aids, meetings, you know, touch and feels, brought down the cruise line, confirming that they're paying for it. A comprehensive plan.
Very comprehensive. And again, this is where I have to...
but that still wasn't enough for the showstoppers. Now, this time around, there is no plan. There is no direction other than just saying, do you want cruise berthing? They're saying,
no, you don't have enough.
No, you don't have enough. So it's either too much, but still wasn't good enough, or not enough, and it's still not good enough. Showstoppers is a good, I think, a good moniker.
That's what they are. They are showstoppers. And again, I take my hat off to what the PPM did because they presented everything logically laid out in terms of the specifics on the piers, and not only that, they went on a informational campaign. Yeah. Let's call it that. On a campaign to give the public information about what they were doing.
Yes.
And the showstoppers were there. And I want the public to understand, this is not about the piers. This is about business. This is a business decision that they're trying to stop. Because there's one little small group, I didn't even call it a group, is this group here, making $7 to $9 million, $7 to $9 million a year that is trying to stop the piers because at the end of the day, they're going to lose money. And we can get on that discussion another day, but I think the PPM did a great job with that. And again, the showstoppers came, they stopped it, they were successful, and it was lingering. And I think now the question is broad, and it should be broad, because clearly what they would like is to have specifics so you can say, yeah, but I don't know about the height of that, the size of the columns, the thickness. I mean, then it'll just go on forever.
Yeah.
What we need is the country to say, do we want to be in the cruise industry or not? Do we want to be in the cruise industry? And if you vote yes, we're going to be in the cruise industry, now we can go forward, but a government can move forward and say, let's get the plan together, let's present it to the public. If we need tweaks here and there, we'll go ahead and make the tweaks, but we have got that mandate from the public to move forward with it.
And I've also heard the naysayers suggest, well, if you vote yes and the government gets, you know, the mandate, then that enables them to just basically, you know,
no government's going to do that.
Rifle through a plan without any public engagement. That is also nonsense.
Nonsense.
No government in their right mind would engage on a capital expenditure project that large in this country and do zero public engagement. that, you might as well say, listen, pack your bags because you won't be there in 4 years.
No,
that's the end of your career.
Of course.
So it's, again, those are the scare tactics, I believe, that are being applied to this conversation. And again, I had to draw a reference to what was done in the past, because today they're saying, well, where's the plan? Where's the information? 4 years ago, not that long ago, you had a plan, a very comprehensive plan. You had a very transparent administration, and it still wasn't good enough. I just pray that we find, if it is a yes vote and the cruise lines are still interested, we can find a way that they can perhaps step up to the plate and offer to pay for it like they did last time. Because with this country's finances the way they are today, if we had to pay for it, woo-wee.
In the seconds that we have left,
literally,
if they were really sincere when the PPM came forward with all those specifics, all the plans, then that's when you could have sat and said, not run around with referendum arguments and trying to stop it. What you would have said is,
5 seconds.
I like this, but it's 2 feet, it should be 3, and keep going on.
Join us tomorrow here on Straight Talk.
The BBC on Bobo. This is